Welcome to the Hearthstone Half Hour. I'm Hammy, this is Folkcraft. Hope you're well and good. Last episode, or if you're live shortly earlier, we were looking at an Midrange Paladin and we were looking at a Reynad version. So it was a real mid-range deck, and we were looking at sort of a few chats that people have been having. How do the various ooze cards, how do some of the Naxxramas cards affect your deck? And it's a deck guide, but it's a deck intro, but it's not really what we're doing. It's taking a deck, playing through it, losing some, winning some, and experimenting and sort of learning for ourselves together. Me and myself, you guys who are watching on YouTube or on Twitch live, welcome either way, as to how it works. Is it good? Is it bad? Do we think it's good for us or bad? And I think, does it work well against other decks or not? So we're really just having a little bit of deck science, a little bit of a deck sandbox. Jumping into game, we have a custom deck made, and as opposed to Reynad's version, we're now looking at a Kolento Nax ooze. Now this defined itself as mid-range. We could make a sort of big thing. Do sometimes. Sorry, chat distraction. So this version is not an aggro. Now we'd probably like to do a version so you can take a look at sort of a more mid-range stroke aggro, and then perhaps a full-on aggro, so you can sort of see a real breadth of how different strategies, same class, similar Naxxramas added cards. So let's jump on in what we're looking at. I've linked in chat, but it's a Kolento version. It's Kolento Naxxramas range, and we're going to jump in and take a look and see how this is different. So the last one you saw, we were using, I'm just going to quickly pull up our, no, I don't want to finish it automatically. I'm just going to show you the mid-range Reynad. So this was lots of combos. It was more, as you can see by the mana curve, a little bit more embedded in the mid-game, because you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on with various combos. You've got Oldor Peacekeeper into Stampede and Kodo, Equality into Consecration, the oozes that we could buff up, the Haunted Creepers would be putting pressure on the early to mid-game, and we had lots and lots of buffable options. Naxxramas, we could DOA everything in the mid-game. The Faceless actually replaced a Sylvanas for tempo change, and the Ragnaros replaced a Tyrion of Ordrin. We're going to have to do similar in this deck, but we will see similar cards in our mid to early, I would say, from Kolento, but we'll then see a few different combos as well. So let's start building. Keep this deck in mind. You may see that I've still got it on this side of our screen. Now, providing it's not going to block our deck creation action, we can probably compare the two sort of as we go along. Is that going to block us? Let's just check the stream. It is. Oops. I need to get my sidebars back. Sorry. I'm kind of on a trigger finger today for some reason. No, it's not. It's not going to block us, so we're going to keep one version up. So look at the more mid-range Reynad version on the left, and then maybe just do a bit of comparing as we take a look at the Kolento version. We're going to be building more to the center. So sorry, Reynad version on the right, Kolento version more to the center. Let's get building. Okay, so first up, we're going to grab the Paladin cards. So the Paladin cards, unsurprisingly, we're going to grab a couple of Equality. And that is really for the combo that we are going for with Consecrate again. So Equality, Consecrate, a standard midish rangish combo. No reason not to have those here. So if you have not seen that before, change the health of all minions to 1, deal 2 damage to all enemies. That will let you, a pure Consecrate gets rid of Russian aggro and totems and all sorts. Equality into Consecrate will let you really clear the board of bigger minions with bigger health than 2 damage, and larger minions 2. So very, very nice and handy. We're going to grab, now this is a little bit different, we're going to grab 2 Argent Protector. So this is a bit more of the early-ish game aggro-ish aspect, which differs from the Reynad version. Giving stuff Divine Shield can make us do a lot more trading actively with minions, so that will come into play in a bit. Now, as opposed to the True Silver Champion, we're not opposed to the True Silver Champion, but we're actually going to pack 1 Sword of Justice in this version. Sword of Justice, whenever you summon a minion, give it 1/1 and this loses 1 durability. This buffs all of the smaller minions that we're going to be throwing on the table, so you get brilliant value with some of the minions we're going to throw in as neutrals. But also it will help us buff the users that we're going to drop in, as well as some other pieces too. Okie dokie. Divine Favour makes the grade here. Let's take the gold one. Draw cards until you have many in hand as opponent. That helps us re-accelerate once we've thrown stuff down in the early game. The Acolyte of Pain is a different option here. That lets us draw some cards. The Oldor Peacekeeper, as a combo we've already discussed, changing enemy minions attack to 1, and then dropping in that removes sort of a more aggro threat for us. This version actually has 2 true silvers. I'm tempted to switch this around, so let's firstly complete the Kolento version and then see if we want to make a few tweaks of our own and see how that makes a difference. The version of Kings also comes in. We've already got Consecrates, and then we'll grab Guardian of Kings as well for the healing aspect in the late game. So there's just the one Guardian that makes it there. So you can see that we've got a solid core that is very, very similar to the Reynad version. But then there are a few little different tweaks and changes that we're going to make that really take it away reasonably markedly in terms of playstyle from the Reynad version as well. So let's take a tweaking look at that and see how that can roll. Right, firstly, we've gone through all of the main cards in terms of the Paladin cards. We'll then jump into the neutrals, have a look at those, and see how they go. Click, 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 and let's grab that card. Kolento time. Right, first up, we're actually going with Abusive Sergeant, an interesting one. But you can see that Abusive Sergeant's purpose is to help us, along with the bubbles of Argent Protector, for example, that give a minion +2 this turn, lets us reach out and make some really mana-effective trades. A couple of Argent Squires complement that as well. And what they also do, we can re-bubble those, but we can also then buff them up. They'll work really well with Sword of Justice, and again, they'll help us reach out in the early game and pressure on. The Zombie Chow, restoring 5 to the enemy hero. You can buff that up with a Blessing of Kings, or you can really charge for it with big value in the early game, make it hard for your opponent to remove. You're mainly using that Zombie Chow to remove minions because you don't really want to be attacking for health damage unless you can help it. So it's still more mid-range in that if you do 5 damage with a Zombie Chow and then it dies, your opponent heals up 5, that's been a little bit worthless. But if you remove the minions with the Zombie Chow, then the minions aren't going to be coming back with your opponent's health unless you can drop a Blessing of Kings on it and they will silence things somehow well. 2 secs, be right back. Sorry, back after this episode. I'm going to have to go and resume the day job. Just sorting some bits. So Haunted Creeper, we've just added 2 of there, and you can see again with using the Abusive Sergeant and giving that 2 attack, we can bubble it if we need to with the Argent Protector, and then with the Sword of Justice, we can even buff it so that it is then getting an additional 1/1. So the 1 Sword of Justice, I'm almost tempted to go for 2. That is a little excessive perhaps, but you can see how all of these things are changing the playstyle away from that mid-range pressure style, fully mid-range pressure style we saw with the Reynad deck. This is really encouraging us to do a lot and get a lot of value out of our early game minions by buffing them up, making them more aggressive, making them more dangerous. And Haunted Creeper adds to that value as well. Hey Tilly, welcome, and welcome to all of you joining us live. Sorry for my quite a couple of minutes. We're just going to be doing another half hour of looking at a slightly different Paladin deck as well. Really looking at lots of tweaks and variants, so enjoying this muchly. Okay, so on top of what we've just added on in, we're going to then proceed to go and grab some Knife Juggler. Now this is where, even though it's called mid-range, this is really looking a little bit more. It's not full-on rush. Let's just make that clear, because it's got a lot of combos for clearance. But the Knife Juggler, well, look how many early game minions, and look at the mana curve difference. If you remember our Reynad mid-range, we were really sort of no 1-drops and then a whole bunch of stuff, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This Kolento version is really taking things slightly into more of the early game. In fact, you could even argue that it's not fully, it's not even a mid-range. But we've managed to grab the 2 Knife Jugglers. And those, again, how well do they synergize? The Haunted Creeper, you play it 1 with the Knife Juggler, it dies 2 more. spiders. The Knife Juggler again does more chip damage, so we can get a lot of chip damage out of our Knife Juggler. We've got a Sword of Justice, we've got a Divine Favour, Acolytes of Pain. We need to drop in 2 of those for card draw. The Order Peacekeeper we've already got as well. We're at 27 out of 30, and we need to drop our final cards in. So our final cards are interesting. I think I've gone a little bit over. I've probably added more of a certain copy of a card than I should. Equality, there's only 1 equality, and that drops down, and that makes us good on our card numbers. So the Sludge Belcher, 2 of those drop in. Drop it, another one spawns. That goes well with so many cards. It goes well with our Sword of Justice as well as other things. And then finally a Cairn Bloodhoof, as well as I'm going to grab a Ragnaros. And the reason I'm grabbing Rag is because I don't have a Tyrion. Tyrion is generally a finisher in a lot of Pally decks. Okay, so let's screen grab that, and then let's do a little review. I'm actually tempted. I'm going to drop. This is the one change, and it's only because I really want to emphasise how cool Sword of Justice can be in some of these combos. We will see, if I find myself in a situation where I can't remove a bigger minion, then I should have had another True Silver Champion. So I'm going to drop 1 for 1 in this case. But in this deck, we can throw down a lot of early game cards. We can make a lot of very good value trades using the Abusive Sergeant. The shield ability of the Argent Protector are going to give us some really good mana efficient trades. Kolento. Oh, hang on. What have I just done? I may have saved over a deck. Let's grab it. Grab it. Nope, I don't think I've messed up. Oh, sorry, I just thought I'd overwritten the Photoshop file there, which would have been awful. Where's the Kolento? The troubles of life. Safe or web. Kolento Naxxramas. There we go. Welcome to those of you joining. We're going to be looking at a little different deck today. And there we go. So in fact, I'm just going to have those side by side before we jump into the game. So look at the mid-range Reynad version on the right. You can see that for starters, we're starting our mana curve at 2 mana rather than 1. There's a lot more forced in that 2 to 5 mana slot, and you can see that we have the options of tanks with Defender of Argus. We've got bigger minions, chunky ones like Harvest Golem, the Shade of Naxxramas. They're going to be getting tanked up, doing a lot of our work for us. Blessing of Kings and True Silver Champion will let us buff minions, but also use our heroes' health. And because we're using our heroes' health a bit more with those 2 True Silver Champions, we have 2 Guardian of Kings. Ken for tempo, Kodo goes well with Order Peacekeeper for removal, and then should be a Tyrion in the late game, but instead we've got Rag as our finisher, and instead of a Sylvanas in the mid game, we've got a Faceless Manipulator. Here you can see that we're really going a lot more early game. We've got the Knife Jugglers in to take advantage of the small minions we're summoning. We're getting value out of those small minions by buffing them with Abusive Sergeant, shielding them with Argent Protector, and then trying to push forward into the mid-game and cement the win with Cairn, Belchers and Ragnaros. But the Belcher is there because we have less mid-game minions to be doing damage with, so that really pads out the deck and means that we can slow our opponent down if we need to. So that will be very, very exciting. Gotcha. Okay, let's jump in. We're going to play a few games and see whether, following our sort of mid-range-ish, whether this Kolento ooze is going to thrive or not.
Uther versus Anduin. The light shall bring victory.
I will fight with honor.
Gotcha. Let's see what we got. Right, Sword of Justice I like, Haunted Creeper I like. I'm going to trade in my Peacekeeper against a Priest. Okay. So, we've traded in, and we've got, in exchange, Haunted Creeper Acolyte. Lovely starting hand. I'm enjoying that a lot.
Done.
Okie dokie. Okay, turn 1 has been thrown down. Nothing from our priest, nothing from me. Well, I'm going first, so we'll see what our priest is doing now. Okey-dokes, well, the Horned Creeper goes down. Ideally, I'm just going to get it straight up. Throwing it down after the Sword of Justice would be double the value. So I could have reinforced, sworded, and then creepered. The reason is that you get some entertainment value. But standard priested combo on the Naxxramas team, letting him draw some. There are some nice priest deck, as you saw with our horrific attempt at playing the quite solid Trump version. It very much depends on what you're playing against on ladder. I could thrive against this priest, it depends what combos he gets out. Down goes the Pyro with the coin, not quite removing them, but then Shield also removing them, so a very nice combo there. Having to play more cards probably than you would like, but he does know to play with Shield, keep that on the table. So he is actually doing a very good job at slowing this down. The True Saver will let me remove that, the Acolyte will let me do some more card draw. I'm actually just going to keep dropping threats.
Speak to me.
And you can see certainly how effective that Sword of Justice is, but with the Pyromancer, our priest has an ideal counter. So nasty, healing and buffing, getting that priest so large, and he's actually just using his Wild Pyromancer to be making trades, so very nicely played here. So I can do this two ways. I can Knife Juggler.
This apple on your head.
I can Zombie Chow. There's actually still a point in me playing Zombie Chow.
Not on my watch.
There we go. So I've got a full board now. When the Zombie Chow dies, I will need to use that to trade minions, but I'm going to be doing health damage, so it's kind of a 50-50. Of course, when this dies, it will restore 5, so unless you can silence it, it might be worth me Blessing of Kings it when I get it. It's the reason for comboing with Blessings of Kings. Okay, so we've got a Holy Nova just causing the damage, which is never fun, but even though it's wiped a couple of bits off the table, we've still got the Chow in play, sadly, because that's going to heal him even more. I'd quite like to get rid of that Chow. Ardent Protector will certainly keep us alive for a bit more value. I think a Sludge Belcher is good just to stop him direct aggression. But, of course, Bishop. Remember, the Chow's just going to heal him for 8, so he's going to use anything possible to kill that Chow. There's a Smite, he'll remove the Chow, that'll get to heal. Interesting, he's just leaving the Chow alive for as long as possible. Shadow Pained the Belcher as well. And finally, I believe that was a Thought Steal, 2 cards from deck into hand, so I'm actually a little bit behind on things. I don't like having that Chow there. I need to draw some more cards.
Pain, speak to me.
Ardent Protector or anything's not really going to flourish me at this point in time, so I'm going to keep myself nicely topped up. and be doing as much damage to him as possible to make up for when this Chow eventually dies.
Embrace the void.
Yep, there's the Orkanite Priest, 5 heal, lovely stuff. So I can get rid of that now, but I can also RNG now, so that is good. Options. Priest can't mind control, so it's kind of worth... Well, he can't mind control just yet, so it's kind of worth...
For justice.
Ragnaros in and getting the damage down before mind control becomes a threat. It's quite unlikely in a lot of priest decks now. They see mind control on the 10 mana as just being a little bit late. So by that time there's a lot of other stuff you could have played. I've got enough pressure on this priest now that this should probably follow through for the win. Knife Juggler goes down. Zombie Chow also goes down, so he's going to be mean. He's going for a little bit similar. Keeping himself topped up. Do see, of course, that painfully the death has removed my Ragnaros, of course. Options. I want to be getting rid of this. Old Peacekeeper will help me keep something alive. I can't kill the Chow just yet. I feel that I don't need the heal. Can give me great tempo. I don't want it to be mind controlled. Bubbling will help me live to fight another day. Old Peacekeeper. I would quite like to get rid of that, but it's not going to be possible this turn. So he's not really going to want to attack with this. Okay, obviously the user would get tipped away. I lack Consecrate and similar. It looks as though we're close to a win, but a mind control of my Cairn and stuff could horribly swing tempo. I don't have huge amounts of board presence, so a King's for a heal is fine. An Argent Protector will help. That helps. I have no board presence. And he's healing and healing and healing. And suddenly you see that even with the trades, I can't quite get him down to the point of being finished. So, a Guardian of Kings, restoring 6 is fine. Bubble will help us remove. Now note that, annoyingly, I can't quite reach out and finish him off here either. So, I'm just going to keep the attack on. Reason for that, let him come to me. So, thoughts, there we go, there's the mind control. I should have expected that 10-10. And suddenly, things aren't not in my favour. You can see I didn't even get the value from Zombie Chow. Zombie Chow! Peacekeeper. At least I can make this a non-entity. Keep that pressure on him. He's got to keep my big minions under control. He's going to have to go for that next turn. Down goes his own Ragnaros, and suddenly things are mixing up. Okay, so I've just drawn that Blessing of Kings. Very unfortunate for this priest.
Last warning.
Boom. Cool, so that was an example of how we got one in. Let's just sneak in one more and see if we can get that style to sort of thrive for us. So what was different in that compared to the mid-range style that we've been playing? Oh, I've covered half the board. You've got to let us know these things. There we go. Ooh. Okay, so you can see two different decks, but differences there. We got the benefit in the early game, whether we liked it or not. I'm not going to say it was all intentional, of the Sword of Justice, which was great. Okay, we're playing a Hunter. I'm going to rip everything apart and keep the Abusive Sergeant, just as a turn 1 drop if I need. Could have gone for a whole mulligan. Actually end up grabbing a Knife Juggler. Happy with that. So this will let me chip away. What can I do? I can really accelerate into a Sword of Justice, but I think I'm going to accelerate into the Knife Juggler. There are, of course, arcane shots and similar things that our Hunter companion friend can use to remove this on turn 1. So this is a risk. Not tapping on the table with an Abusive Sergeant, saving till turn 2, and then quoting into a Sword of Justice, starting the game a bit later is fine. There was no real reason to rush this out quite so early, but I can then start picking up the chip benefit from as early as turn 2. Turn 3 I can throw down a sword, I can throw out an Acolyte. I don't actually even need the sword because I don't have too many minions to be playing after it now. Really getting down the sword means that you can then benefit later on. And I expect we'll fully see my Knife Juggler disappear. No issues with that. He's done his task, so now there's no Knife Juggler, I can probably contemplate. He can just attack this, remove it at the moment. So there's no point dropping a Zombie Chow in this particular situ. What I will do, however, is an Acolyte and get the card draw going. I can then Sword of Justice into an Abusive Sergeant next turn. So we've got some mix and match options. There you go. Certainly getting rid of his weapon there, but the Web Spinner, of course, can pull any beast in the game that's not a token, whether you own it as a card or not. So the Hunter could grab King Crush or all sorts of nasties. Divine Favour is great when I have no cards in my hand, but I do, however, have lots of cards in my hand. So we need to address that situation as soon as possible.
The battle.
I'm not going to be attacking with that because it's going to be buffing on minions. What I could do is remove this beast just to ensure he doesn't remove extra minion. It's always a gamble as to whether to remove a Web Spinner. You don't want it on the table for too long, obviously, but if it's chipping away at you for ones and not really doing anything, there we go, secret. If that's an explosive trap, these all die. Okay, so if I Bok, then I can certainly keep a Zombie Chow alive, for example. Or I can Bok something else. Or just Sludge Belcher and see what happens. Or I can Bok this to look to remove the secret. It's a risk, right? So I'm going to Bok this. And then I'm going to rush that in. If it is an explosive trap, which it is, then it doesn't do too much. And that's okay, it keeps us good, it then ends up in charging for 7 with this suddenly fearsome Abusive Sergeant. And I'm actually going to tip him for 1, making that a bit much closer to a lethal. So loads of fun this deck, well worth giving a go. Buzzard goes down. Timberwolf goes down, so Hunter now just fishing for them cards. I can see the deadly shots, so mana efficient. So he's done a nice little reset there, and I can't actually remove either of those. Well, I can. I'm going to remove the Buzzard. I think. Let's have a look and see what we can grab. Well, the Belcher will certainly help me give him some food for thought. I don't want to be Divine Favouring, because I've got too many cards in hand. I don't really want to be chowing. So I'm going to take the 3. Am I taking the 3? I sort of slow down his card draw. So next turn I've got a whole plethora of card drawing options, which is great. And then I can drop into Ragnaros next turn as well. So we're well in hand, hopefully for a win. Flare, flaring for a card draw. Kill. Yep, well, he can certainly strafe that down. It stops him taking damage to the face. He wants to live. Spinner, God knows what that's going to do to us. Steady shot. Some damage. We're not in an ideal position. Note that our health is actually quite low. So if he got out a big combo, we could be in trouble. With that in mind, we have to play carefully. Ragnaros will help us win in a turn's time. But what we can do is we can order Peacekeeper.
Follow the rule.
And this is just us filling up. I can Ardent Protector, and that is just going to make sure he's not removing my tank too quickly. I can't Divine Favour, which is sad, but what I can do is Ardent Squire. Also has got Bubble. So I'm still threatening with enough minions. Now this does set him up for a Buzzard Unleash the Hounds, Timberwolf, that kind of solid combo. And that is possibly, who knows what beast he has, could be enough to remove things. Okay, I'm big silences. It also removes the tank, so he can run straight through, and Unleash the Hounds could finish us off. And Houndmasters creates a dogs. Is that going to be enough? Well, not if Ragnaros is. Of course, when this dies, he gets his beast. Steady shot. So I'm going, and the Houndmaster is a nasty card, so we're not in a position to quite finish him, I think. Right, calculation. So I can just Ragnaros. I can tip a few things away. We can put ourselves in a pretty good situation.
Warning.
There we go. So we got Ragnaros down, and interestingly, he didn't even continue further and conceded it. A win bonus, almost up to rank 9. So that has to be it for our slightly longer than a Hearthstone half hour. We've taken a look, and I'm just going to move it across. In our last episode, do go and check it out on youtube.com/FellcraftCasts. We had a look at the Reynad Midrange Paladin, and then in this episode we've taken a look at the Kolento mid to sort of slightly more aggro early game Paladin. Both of them Nax enabled, Nax buffed with various Nax cards, looking at oozes, the uses of Zombie Chow, Haunted Creeper as well, and seeing how the Nax cards can really, with slight tweaks to a deck in a single sort of class and in a single kind of concept like mid-range, really just change your playstyle almost entirely. Similar combos you can see in the two, but the use of 2 Sword of Justice and 1 True Silver Champion meant that we were buffing small and early game minions to trade rather than waiting to the late game and trading and putting pressure on in that stage. So a small amount of similar cards, but 2 very almost entirely different means of play. So that was a load of fun. So thank you so much for tuning in. Where can you find more stuff? You can, if you're watching live, well, that's brilliant. Go check out youtube.com/FellcraftCasts. Loads of stuff there. Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and other games too. If you are also watching on YouTube, then come and visit, throw a follow, twitch.tv/FellcraftCast. We try and go live Monday through Friday at those times, evening time UK, but we also try and go lunch times UK as well. So that was a bunch of fun. We always try and tweet on @FellcraftCasts, so we're going to go live too. So thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully see you live or on YouTube. If you like it, please do share our stuff. We love having it shared. It helps us keep going. If you don't like it, then please just comment and let us know either way. But we love to hear from you either way, so do get in touch. Thanks for tuning in. I will be back this evening. It's a Friday, so we'll be back 7:38 p.m. Emish, and we'll talk